In this video, I will be answering all of your questions regarding intermittent and prolonged fasting. Questions like, what is intermittent fasting? How do I even begin intermittent fasting? When I get hungry, is it in fact starving myself? What can I eat? What is ketosis? What is prolonged or extended fasting? And how often can I do prolonged periods of fasting? All the answers today and a bonus at the end. Welcome to the Liz and Skatz channel. Hi, I'm Liz and I am a clinical holistic therapist, a yoga and meditation teacher, and I, with my husband Skatz, have been doing keto and intermittent fasting with prolonged fasts now as well since the end of May this year, and we have lost between us 110 pounds or maybe even more now. Also, we have reversed Skatz's type 2 diabetes symptoms, which is amazing. Now, there's a wealth of information out there on YouTube and the internet, but we have done all the work for you, researching, sifting through the hours and hours of videos just to bring you a nice condensed version so that it's easier for you. So help us to help you by doing this.
Subscribe, and click on the bell.
So what is intermittent fasting? As the name suggests, we are actually going to be going through periods of time when we're not eating. Ordinarily, in the Western diet, we tend to eat from first thing in the morning, so 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, to about sometimes as late as 10 o'clock at night, which is a huge window where we're eating all the time. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to decrease the amount of time where we actually eat our food and fill up on nutrition. This way we give our digestive system a well-earned break. Health benefits from intermittent fasting include things like immune system boosting, which of course right now, as we're heading into the winter and lots of viruses and bacteria are about, it's a really good idea. We also improve our neurotransmitter production. A great deal of our neurotransmitters for our brain start their lives being grown and nurtured in the bowel. Isn't that incredible? So not only are we giving ourselves a break, our digestive system gets a rest, we're improving our mental function and our immune system is bolstered. Isn't that enough? There's more. We can also reduce insulin resistance, and this is what happens when you go into fasting and keto together, but you can actually do it just with intermittent fasting. Isn't that amazing? Skatz has managed to reduce his symptoms down so that now it looks like he's not even a diabetic at all. Most people in the West tend to have an issue with carbohydrates. We just eat too many of them. And so with intermittent fasting, we do actually reduce down our carbohydrate intake, which is going to be fantastic for your insulin resistance, metabolic syndromes, and all illnesses associated with that, including type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and heart disease and stroke. So how do I even begin? Where do we start? The best thing that I can advise you to do is to just, for the first week, you just look at the way you eat your food. When you start eating in the morning, which snacks you have, what time you eat your lunch, and take an average timing of how long you eat for. So for first thing in the morning until last thing at night. Now, I'm not saying that you eat for that entire time, but whenever we're eating a meal, our insulin is spiked. And so we're not actually in a fast, even if it's been like 4 or 5 hours. So find out your eating window, figure out where it is, and just shorten it by an hour at each end. So, for example, say you start your breakfast around about 8 o'clock in the morning. So when you're starting your intermittent fasting journey, try going a little later. So you'll start eating your breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 8. And the same goes for at the other end of your day. If you finish your meal at around about 6 o'clock in the evening, then just move it back a little so that you finish eating at 5, and there you'll have a lovely shorter window by 2 hours, and it won't make that much difference to you. Once you've narrowed your eating window down to 8 hours, you've got what's called a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window. 16:8. This is the beginning of intermittent fasting. You're there, you're doing it. It's amazing. So once you reach this timing, it's always best to stay put for a few weeks, 2, maybe 3, just to get your body used to the idea that it's not going to be eating as often, maybe even not as much. Then you could move on later on to doing shorter and shorter windows. Now we go almost every day between 18 and 20 hours of fasting. So we eat in a 6 or a 4-hour window, depending on how we're feeling. This obviously takes a lot of time to work up to. Give yourself a break, be patient, you'll get there. And just to note, as with all new things that you're doing with your physical and mental body, please make sure that you talk to your medical practitioner first, especially if you're going to be taking medications. So the next question, is it starving yourself? Well, there is a lot of debate about this. You're not actually eating, so what's happening in your body? To start off with, when we don't eat a lot of food for a long period of time, the body starts to search for food elsewhere, and normally we're feeding on glucose, which comes from carbohydrates. And so when there isn't any glucose left, the body will go searching for other types of fuel. And this is when the body starts looking for fat instead. Now, if we only had about 1 or 2% body fat, then the chances are this would not be a good option for you. But as we know, most of us are carrying a little bit too much fat. That's why you're here, watching this very video, I would imagine. Not only do we get health benefits in the form of reducing insulin resistance, etc., from fasting, but we also can lose a little bit of weight. So the body instinctively knows what to do. It knows there's no food coming in, I'll go and have a look for some more. And the beauty of this is that the body will start eating the fat that's stored around your internal organs first. And this is the greatest thing of all, because this is the dangerous fat. It's called visceral fat. And if you can imagine all of your organs working away, wrapped up in a great big duvet of fat that you've eaten and stored for so many years, it's going to make those organs very, very difficult to work at peak efficiency. So with intermittent fasting, now suddenly they're free and cool and can work at optimum. So the next question, what can I eat? Now that sounds a bit mad. Surely if you're fasting and not eating anything, then you're not going to be eating anything. So here we are. You come to your eating window. What can you eat now? Well, the choice is really up to you. Of course, Skatz and I would always recommend that you eat an organic and whole food diet, and if you're really keen, you can watch some of our keto videos and do a ketogenic diet, which actually reduces the hunger. So within your eating window, you really can eat whatever you like. Obviously, if you eat too much of the wrong types of food, high in calorific values, high in trans fats, and not very good for you in general, processed foods, that sort of thing, you will not feel the benefits as well as if you were eating a lovely whole food diet. So just be good to yourselves. Watch what you're eating. Give yourself good nutrition to eat in those lovely windows, because your body will need it, especially if you're fasting for longer and longer each day. So our next question is, what is ketosis? Now, I spoke to you earlier about how when the body is searching for an extra fuel, it normally turns to burning fat. And in that process, we go into something called ketosis. Normally, our body and brain are fueled by glucose because we do, in the Western world, eat a phenomenal amount of carbohydrates. When you just think about it, cereal or toast for breakfast, sometimes waffles, pancakes, oatmeal as well, and then you'll have a snack or something for mid-morning, normally involving crisps, chocolate, it was for me when I used to do it, then sandwich for lunch, jacket potato for dinner. We're talking a lot of carbohydrates. But when we switch to intermittent fasting, we tend to be searching for other forms of food because glucose burns very, very quickly. And so we run out really fast. So we normally turn to the stores of glucose in the liver first. And then once that's depleted, if we're in fast for long enough, we'll start to burn fat around our visceral organs. When we burn fat, the chemical reaction causes ketones to be released, and ketones are actually the most efficient way to power and fuel your brain. This is why if you do fasting for long periods of time, especially if you interject the ketogenic diet in with this program, you will actually find yourself being able to think more clearly. The brain fog in late afternoon will be gone miraculously, and you'll actually be able to retain information way more easily. So another question we're asked a lot is, what on earth is prolonged or extended fasting? Are you mad, Liz? Yes, I am completely mad. But the thing is that when it comes to fasting, I'm not mad at all, because it's a very sensible idea. When we do prolonged fasting, it means that you're going without food for normally more than 24 hours. I sometimes do what's called OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, and that is roughly 22 to 23 hours of fasting a day. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. I've worked my way up to it. My body knows what's going on, and it's absolutely fine, and I'm adapted to doing that. So why would I want to go any further? So here's the thing. Once we reach 24 hours of fasting, a lot of amazing metabolic switches are switched on. For example, serotonin starts to be released. We end up starting to produce stem cells in our bowels, which repairs injured bowel and anywhere in the digestive system. We also begin to have other neurotransmitters floating around in our brain, like GABA and BDNF, which actually improve brain function dramatically the longer we fast. So obviously, this is a win-win situation. We can actually improve our brains whilst mending our bodies and also giving ourselves a rest. The digestive process takes up so much energy in our bodies that it's so good just to calm it down, let the body do its natural healing for a short time. So when we started doing prolonged fasts, we started off by doing 36 and 48-hour fasts. Now we're into 72 and 96-hour fasts, which is 4 days. Now, if you told me at the beginning of March this year that I would be not having any food for 4 whole days, I would have called you completely bonkers. But now I understand the principles behind it. It's not actually fasting yourself if you have a good deal of body fat in you already, and the body cleans and heals itself and fertilizes the brain, renewing neural pathways, increasing serotonin and dopamine levels, healing the body from the inside out, and you will feel the benefit very quickly indeed. So now, here is the last question that I've had off social media and YouTube. How often can I do prolonged or extended fasting? Now, there is great debate about this. Some people think that you can do prolonged fasting maybe once a week. So you'll do 2 days of fasting each week, and that's fine if it suits you. However, it doesn't suit us. We have sort of collated the information off of YouTube and off the internet and spoken to a lot of different people. Plus, we have also read so many scientific journals that I think I might be cross-eyed right now. We tend to go with the average, the sort of mean time, and we fast for prolonged fast once every month. So that's maybe once every 4 to 5 weeks we'll have a prolonged fast. So we did our fast in October, fairly close to the beginning. The one before that was at the beginning of September, and the one that I'm planning to do next is going to be within the next couple of weeks, once a month. That seems to be good for us. You'll find your way, but we do find that when we do a prolonged fast once a month, we've got plenty of time to heal ourselves, to get the nutrition back into our body after we're refeeding, and as long as we do it properly, it's going to be okay. So now, there was that word, refeeding. Here comes the bonus. This is something you don't often hear on fasting YouTube channels, is how to refeed once you've finished your prolonged fasting. If you've gone longer than 2 days or 48 hours without eating anything at all apart from just water, then you are going to need to very carefully refeed yourself. So I'll give you an example of how we do it. When we know that we're coming up to our time that we're going to start refeeding, I will take about 50 milliliters of aloe vera juice, and I will just drink that down. The reason I do that is because it's wonderful for your digestion, it soothes, but it's also a small amount of nutrition coming into the gut, readying you for eating once again. Really handy tip there. The second thing that we tend to do is boil up some fantastic bone broth. Now we add normally bones from either chicken or lamb or beef, depending on what the butcher's got this week. We'll boil it all up for about 24 hours in a slow cooker. Maybe not boiling, just simmering. We also add garlic and celery and some other vegetables sometimes too, whatever's going. If I've got a tiny bit of broccoli stalk, I'll chop it up and put that in as well, just for a few nutrients. And the seeping out of all these nutrients into the broth is what we're going to do next. We're going to drink that broth. Just 1 cup of it about an hour after we've had the aloe vera juice. Works wonders and just gets you ready for your next meal. So then another hour after the bone broth, we will have a small meal that comprises of some protein, very, very light, easily digestible protein, which is normally breast of chicken, and it really does work well if you griddle it so that there's no fat in the food whatsoever, because it tends to be that if you eat fatty foods after you've finished a fast, you can really upset your digestive system. The reason for this is that your bile duct has not had any fat to deal with over the last few hours, however long your fast has been, and it's very, very difficult for it to start back up again. So if you suddenly start ingesting large quantities of fat, you won't feel very well. You could become a bit bloated, maybe even feel a bit sick, and this happened to us, so we want to pass on our mistakes so that you don't have to go through that. So with these small pieces of protein that we're going to eat, very lean, just a couple of sprigs of broccoli steamed lightly, and just eat that. Then we fast until the next day, which will be about 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when we'll have something very light to eat, say some eggs or a little bit of fish, oily fish, and then we'll eat again in our usual 16-8 window. This means that we get a full complement of nutrition in one day. I'll have some nuts throughout the day, maybe just a little snack. Seeds, pumpkin seeds are my favorites too. Maybe some cocoa nibs just to add a few antioxidants into the mix there as well, just to keep us moving along, as well as drinking plenty of water. Now finally, some issues associated with intermittent fasting. More bonuses, this is fantastic. When you're intermittent fasting, it's very, very, very important that you drink lots of water. Now, when we're not eating at all, we need to start flushing things out. Make sure you're drinking lots of water. If you start to feel dizzy or you're feeling a little bit, not sure what's going on, then just get some sea salt or some pink Himalayan salt in the middle of your palm, about a teaspoon. Lick it and drink some water. I still drink some apple cider vinegar in the morning when I'm on fasting. This actually provides a small amount of nutrients and minerals which do actually keep up your mineral levels. Normally, if you're feeling a little bit dizzy and stuff, you might find that you need a few little extra minerals, and the salt and the apple cider vinegar can really help you with this. So in summary, intermittent fasting, fantastic for your mental and physical health, which of course, as we're heading into winter, is really, really vital. This is, after all, called flu season, and with the coronavirus and mental health issues really at stake here for more and more of us as we go back into lockdown, intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting really can help us feel at our best. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please comment below. Love hearing from you all. And of course, these questions that you've been asking me today were greatly received, so thank you. And here's your video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe and click on the bell, ding, and let us know what you think of our channel. Watch some more videos. Look in the description below for the affiliate links. There's all of the walking equipment and our filming equipment, and if you click on those, then you'll be taken to Amazon or to wherever it is, and you can get maybe a discount on certain items. We receive a small commission, but there's no extra charge to you whatsoever. Also in the description below is our merchandise link that'll take you away to our Keto Bonito shop, where you can buy all of our designs in t-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts and mugs, lots of things for you to buy. Great Christmas gifts, and of course you're helping us. The last thing I'm going to mention in the descriptions is of course the Patreon. Now you can become a patron and help us to produce our videos every single week. We're actually averaging out around about 3 to 4 videos a week at the moment. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and all of this equipment needs servicing and helping, so your contributions are gratefully received, and thank you. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and we'll see you next time on the Liz and Skatz channel. Bye bye.